Let us go to the first puzzle. Threats in this position are. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. Solution to the puzzle is f5. Pawn takes pawn. King to d6. f6. h5. f7. King to e7. King takes pawn. h4. King to d4. h3. Promotes to rook. King takes rook. Let us go to the next puzzle. The threats are. Knight takes bishop. Queen takes knight. Here are the checks. Knight to b6, check. Knight to e7, check. Bishop to g4, check. The puzzle is solved using. Bishop to g4, check. King to b8. Rook to b1. Queen to c2. Rook takes pawn, check. King takes rook. Rook to b1, check. Queen takes rook, check. Queen takes queen, check. Let's continue. Threats in this position are. Rook takes bishop. Rook takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. Knight takes pawn, check. Knight takes pawn, check. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes pawn. Checks in puzzle position are. Knight takes pawn, check. Knight takes pawn, check. Queen to h2, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen to f2, check. Solution to the puzzle is. Knight takes pawn, check. King to h1. Queen takes queen. Next puzzle, the threats are. Pawn takes pawn, check. Pawn takes pawn. Here are the checks. Pawn takes pawn, check. The answer is. Pawn takes pawn, check. King takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. King takes pawn. Let's continue. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is. b4. c5. Pawn takes pawn. King takes pawn. g3. Pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. King to d5. h4. c5. h5. King to e6. h6. King to f6. f5. Let us go to the next puzzle. Threats in puzzle position are. Rook takes rook. There are no checks in this position. The answer is. Rook takes rook. Bishop to b2. Knight to f4. Queen to e4, check. d5. Queen takes pawn. Bishop to d6. Queen to c3, check. King to b5. Next puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes pawn, check. Checks in this position are. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen to b4, check. Rook to d8, check. The puzzle is solved using. Rook to d8, check. King to e7. Queen to g5, check. Rook to f6. Rook to g8. Let us go to the next puzzle. The threats are. Queen takes queen. There are no checks in this position. The answer is. Queen takes queen. Bishop takes queen. Bishop to f3. Bishop to c4. b4. Bishop takes pawn. Bishop takes bishop. Let us go to the next puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. Bishop takes pawn, check. Rook takes pawn. Checks in this position are. Bishop takes pawn, check. Rook to e1, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. g3. Rook takes pawn, check. King to h8. King to g2. Pawn takes pawn. Let's continue. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. Solution to the puzzle is. King to f8. Queen to h6, check. King to e7. Next puzzle. Puzzle position vulnerabilities are. Bishop takes pawn. Queen takes pawn, check. The checks are. Knight to d6, check. Knight to f6, check. Queen takes pawn, check. The best move in puzzle position is. Knight to g5. Knight takes pawn. Rook takes knight. Next, threats in puzzle position are. Pawn takes knight. Knight takes pawn. Knight takes pawn. Queen takes bishop. The checks are. Queen to g3, check. Queen to f2, check. Answer to this puzzle is. Queen takes bishop. Queen takes pawn. King to h5. King to h1. Knight takes pawn. Rook to f2. Queen to g4. Queen to g3. Queen to d1, check. Rook to f1. Queen takes rook, check. Rook takes queen. Rook takes queen. Pawn takes rook. Knight takes rook. Let's see the next puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. Rook takes bishop, check. Rook takes bishop, check. Rook takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. Rook takes bishop, check. Rook takes bishop, check. Queen to a4, check. Solution to the puzzle is bishop takes pawn. Queen takes bishop. Bishop to b4. Next, let us look at threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. The answer is b6. Rook to h5. Bishop to g6. c5, check. King to e4. Let's see the next puzzle. Here are threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. The best move in puzzle position is King to e7. f5. King to e6. One more. Let us look at threats in puzzle position. Pawn takes pawn. Knight takes pawn. Knight takes pawn. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes bishop, check. Queen takes pawn. The checks are Queen takes bishop, check. The best move in puzzle position is Queen takes pawn. Bishop to c3. Bishop to b4. Another one. Threats in puzzle position are there are no threats in this position. There are no checks in this position. Answer to this puzzle is a5. King to c7. Pawn takes pawn, check. King takes pawn. King to e5. Next, let us look at threats in puzzle position. Bishop takes pawn. Queen takes knight, check. Queen takes bishop. Rook takes rook. Checks in this position are Queen takes knight, check. Queen to h6, check. Rook to h7, check. Solution to the puzzle is Rook takes rook. Rook takes rook. Rook to d5. Rook to h1, check. Knight to g1. Knight takes bishop. Queen to d4, check. King to h7. Rook takes queen. Another puzzle. Threats in this position are Queen takes queen. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes knight. Knight takes pawn. Rook takes pawn. Checks in puzzle position are Queen to d6, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Solution to the puzzle is Queen takes pawn, check. King to g7. Knight to h5, check. King to f8. Queen to f6. Rook to e5. Queen to g7, check. King to e8. Knight to f6, check. King to e7. Knight takes pawn, check. One more. Threats in puzzle position are Queen takes pawn. Bishop takes pawn. Here are the checks. Queen to h3, check. The answer is Rook to a3. Queen to b2. Rook takes knight. King takes rook. Queen to b7. King to g2. f5. Rook to e6. Rook to d2, check. Rook to c6. Rook takes queen. One more. Let us look at threats in puzzle position. There are no threats in this position. Checks in puzzle position are Rook to a1, check. Answer to this puzzle is King to d3. Rook to b3. King to d2. Rook to b8. c2. Let's continue. Threats in puzzle position are Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. Queen takes pawn, check. The puzzle is solved using Queen to g5. Queen takes queen, check. Pawn takes queen. Pawn takes pawn. Bishop to e3. Next, the threats are Queen takes pawn, check. Queen takes bishop. Checks in this position are Queen to f4, check. Queen to g3, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Queen to g2, check. Queen to h1, check. Queen to f2, check. Queen to e2, check. The puzzle is solved using Queen to e2, check. King to g3. Rook to f4. Bishop takes rook. Pawn takes bishop, check. King to h4. Queen to f2, check. Rook to g3. Queen takes rook, check. Queen takes queen. Pawn takes queen. Next, the threats are: rook takes bishop, check. Rook takes pawn. Checks in this position are: rook takes bishop, check. The best move in puzzle position is: rook takes bishop, check. King to h8. Queen to h6. Bishop to f5. Rook to g1. Next, here are threats in puzzle position. Knight takes pawn. Knight takes knight. Queen takes pawn. Queen takes pawn, check. Bishop takes pawn. Let us look at checks in puzzle position. Queen to f5, check. Queen takes pawn, check. Here is the solution to the puzzle. Rook to d7. Queen takes knight. Queen to h5. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.